You know what, yeah? After seeing this game versus Liverpool and the last game versus Brighton, I have to say that it has brought back some memories about the 2004-2005 team. Now, during that period, of course, we had a ridiculous window. We signed players like Didier Drogba, Carvalho, Paulo Ferreira, etc, etc. We signed a new manager in Jose Mourinho. And the funny thing about that period was that during the first few weeks of the season, the first maybe 5-6 games of the season, we played kind of counter-attacking football. Now, I remember at the time, and I was very young then, that a lot of people weren't too impressed. We were playing against weaker teams, and people were wondering, we spent so much money, why are we playing in such a pragmatic kind of negative manner? But, of course, Mourinho, he comes out afterwards and he explains exactly what the process is. He's got a new team with a ton of new players in the team, so what has to be done right now is to work on the defensive phase, to work on the pressing structures, because of course, you can't challenge for a single thing if the team doesn't know how to defend together as a team. Now, for me, you guys, this is exactly what Lampard is doing with this team. We've signed basically an entirely new 11. We've got most of our new signings on the bench today, and when Sky kept gassing up them shorts of seeing like Thiago Silva, Chirbo Ziyech, Pulisic in the stands together, you're just thinking, at some point this season, very soon, we're going to see all these guys playing in the same team together. That is tantalizing, that is exciting, and that's what we have to wait for, you guys. And to be honest, we don't have to wait too long. Now, the reason why I'm starting with my intro by bringing up the points from yesteryear is that we have to understand, if we're bringing in so many new players, we need to have that defensive structure on point. So this is going to mean for the first few games, we are going to be a bit more defensive. We are going to use more of a mid-block. We are going to be more compact defensively. And to be honest, already in the first 2 games, I have seen a massive improvement in how this team defends off the ball. Now, last season, let's keep things real. If we were in the same situation where, we're down to 10 men versus Liverpool, you know that they're winning this game by 5 or 6-0. That is the honest reality. We cannot forget, Liverpool only got about 4 or 5 shots on target throughout this entire game, and most of those shots on target came once we came down to 10 men. Now, we have to understand that yes, it's not the most exciting, tantalizing football to see, but this is what you need to do if you're building a team for future success. Let's not pretend that we have all our new summer signings playing together. If that was the case, things would be a bit different. But at this point in time, Lampard wants to use this opportunity to start bedding in some of these young guys. That's why Havertz is playing, that's why Werner is playing. And that's one of the main reasons why Lampard is having us play a bit more defensively, more solid and a bit deeper, so everyone can get understood to the new pressing structures and tactics. Already, I feel like I can see like a massive influence from our new pressing tactician in Anthony Barry. I feel like already I'm seeing interesting things with our structure off the ball, and for me this is a massive positive. I saw this versus Brighton, I saw this versus Liverpool today, and to be honest, you guys, I have to just say my personal opinion. In that first half, I was impressed with our defensive performance. Yeah, of course, when it came to attacking and breaking them down, it wasn't the same, but off the ball, I was impressed, because throughout last season, at not one single period or point did I ever feel confident that this team could seal out maybe a draw or, seal out a win by defending as a team. That was never the case. We could never do that. And you're telling me in the first 2 games of this season that we already look better than what we did last season? For me, you guys, that is a big positive. And when you consider this point, and when you realize that, we still have a ton of things we are going to accomplish throughout this season, these are the baby steps that need to be taken, because the players aren't pixels on a screen. They're not robots. This isn't some fake nonsense. This is real life. And, to get a team becoming a team, this is the crucial stage and the crucial periods. Now, that is my observations about what Lampard is trying to do. And the reason why I feel like I even had to start off by mentioning this is because already I'm seeing a lot of doubt in regards to Lampard as a tactician, as a manager, etc, etc. It's the normal arguments about the first 11 lineup. It's arguments about why this player isn't playing, why that player isn't playing. And I personally feel like for most of the criticism, it does come down to a personal, critical lack of understanding of what the vision is and what is trying to be done here. Now, I'm going to say very quickly, you guys, for this season in particular, we are definitely seeing the Chelsea 2.0. Throughout last season, I kept mentioning what could happen for next season, and already we're starting to see those small glimpses and small signs. Now, the first thing that I want to stress is that with the new Chelsea 2.0, we are trying to be a ridiculously fluid team. And for me, this is something that I haven't really seen too much of. Of course, I mainly watch Chelsea games. I watch a lot of football too, but I'm not watching teams in the same depth that I watch our team to really get an idea of how they play in their systems, But what we're trying to do is become a fluid team. In that first half, you guys, we saw about 3 different formations. We saw a 4-3-3. We saw Havertz playing up front alongside Werner to make a 4-2-2-2, and we also saw a 4-2-3-1. The point is we want to become a dynamic team that changes games tactically in game, depending on the context and scenarios of the games. That's one of the main reasons why we signed the players we did. We never signed players like your Werners and Kais and other players like that because, let's say for example, a Pulisic's injured, you could play Werner down the left hand side. No bro, we ain't trying to do that at all. It's about playing different in-game formations on the fly just like that. And we can do that now because players like Werner, Kai, Ziyech, etc., they can play all across the attacking thirds just like that. And I really feel like once we get used to the rhythm, once some of our older players get used to our newer players too, oh my god, you guys, I am so excited. This feels like complete alien territory where we've never really seen Chelsea teams ever play like this. I'm really excited to see what's going to happen once things start rolling. And I'm going to stress, this is time to be patient. The fact that already off the ball we looked a lot stronger in the first 2 games than nearly every single game from last season in itself is a massive sign that there is clearly a plan and things are slowly starting to come alive, you guys. Now, of course, we can't not speak about the negatives in the game today, but I want to speak about the few positives first because for me, you guys, this was not a defeat where I'm angry and pissed off. Far from that. We take an L. It was a self-inflicted L again, and I feel like as the season goes on, hopefully with the new signings we've made too, those type of self-inflicted mistakes won't be happening as much throughout the season. Now, to start with the first major positive today, of course, it was Timo Werner. Now, you know what? Werner, man, his performance today got me so gassed and excited. Number 1, defensively off the ball, his application was on point. He ran, he harried, he closed people down, he was sliding in for tackles too. He showed that hunger. Number 2, his touch. I mean, my god, my guy was absolutely crisp today. First touch was on point. And the way he was just able to single-handedly just cause that danger towards Liverpool was a massive positive sign for me to see, you guys. And, I just think that this is a big player we've signed. One of the biggest players we've signed throughout our modern day history, to be honest, because, when as a club do we ever really sign like one of the hottest young strikers in Europe? The fact that we beat Liverpool and Man City to the signing of Timo Werner tells you everything you need to know. And it also tells you everything you need to know about Frank Lampard, because we cannot forget one of the main reasons why Werner was so tantalized and excited to sign for us was due to the tactical demands that Lampard was going to put on the player. Werner can play an absolutely free role. We've seen him drift to the left-hand side where throughout the season, and as I stressed before he actually played games for us, that was how we were going to kind of use him. And you can see just how much danger he brings playing this way. Now, Werner can't really do this. I mean, of course he can do it himself, but when you have a Kai Havertz alongside him, that's where things become even more exciting. And for me, I thought it was really promising seeing Kai. Now, I think one thing we just can't forget, but to be honest, I feel like, just gauging the responses on social media, everyone's acting like we've had a proper pre-season. Like, when is it going to sink in, the reality of life right now, due to COVID, due to the fact that fans can't go to the stadium, when is it going to sink in that you can't really expect, like, amazing football straight away? I don't like using this word, but be a fan of the club, don't be a consumer. That's always just constantly moaning and just sees everything in such a binary way where it's just like you can't see the vision, the long-term planning, or what we're actually trying to do. Like I said, if you want to really get the best out of Kai, I find it really exciting how Lampard is using him as like a super fluid false nine type of player. I mean, times Kai was playing up front alongside Werner. He came to drop really deep alongside midfield too. we saw the glimpses of what Kai can do once he is fully firing and fully on point. So again, more promising things from him. But I think there was one thing in particular today that we definitely missed out on. For me, he's a player I feel has a massive chance at being our best player this season. Yeah, it's my own personal speculation, observations, but for me, that player is Hakim Ziyech. I think we've signed a guy that is absolutely in the prime of his career, 27 years old. He's ready to do things instantly, and I don't feel like he's going to need the same time that other players are going to need. Now, when you have players like we have in attack that are fast, that have ridiculous timing of their runs too, you need to understand how to play with them. That's the reality. As Chelsea strikers, we've never had forwards or many attacking players like this, so I can understand during the first opening games that there are going to be some, silly plays in the final third. That's understandable. When you have players like Werner and Kai, their acceleration is ridiculous. You have to play those balls in front of them. You have to anticipate where they're going to make their runs, and I think in the first 2 games already, it's like we're not used to playing with a super fast striker. We've been messing up sloppy balls non-stop. It's something we're definitely going to improve on and get better in, but I think the one player that's really going to make this attack just come to life is going to be Hakim Ziyech. I mean, that first game against Brighton, we saw some of his ridiculous world-class deliveries and balls from deep. Balls where you're playing lofted through balls over the top of defenses, so your Timo Werners and your pacey strikers can make those runs in behind and get to those balls. We've seen already in the game versus Brighton and this game, players aren't releasing the ball early enough into space for Werner to run onto. That's how you use him, that's how you get the best out of him, and that is what's going to happen once the team get used to each other, because of course there has been no pre-season games for teams to get used to each other. That's what always happens, that's what needs to happen, and we're going to get to that stage, you guys. But, they were some of the few positives I saw today. I think when it came to the negatives, these are negatives I've been mentioning throughout last season. Now, I think immediately, for me in the first half, it felt like seeing a new Chelsea team. And in the second half, it felt like seeing more of the same stuff from last season. We conceded a goal very early on in the second half. It was unlucky because I thought Alonso was decent today until that moment where he messed up the 1-2 with Firmino, and of course in the end Kepa making a typical mistake, and for me just really cementing the fact that he wasn't good enough to play for a top 4 club. It feels like everything is absolutely mental with him, because I think he is technically a good goalkeeper, but if you don't have the mentality to bring your skills together, then what is the point? An absolute travesty of a mistake to play such a stupid pass to Jorginho in that area too in the first place. I mean, you can't coach him to be any better. And I think this could potentially be one of the last games we see Kepa play, because, he kind of just killed any single chance we had in this game today. Still though, going down to 10 men, personally, I felt like we still kept our defensive shape. Yes, I know people were moaning about, why was Hudson-Odoi not playing? He should be playing over Mount, Mount this, Mount that, negativity, blah, blah, blah. I don't understand football. The typical things I've been seeing since last season, but I'm sorry, the reality is that with how we played, it's not like Lampard was expecting us to go down to 10 men, and once we did go down to 10 men, Tomori was going to play, meaning that the last 2 spots would probably go to a midfield player to replace a Jorginho or cover, and most likely to a striker too. It makes sense if you're trying to build Hudson-Odoi up again, to use him in a Carabao Cup game where he can start the full 90 minutes. Lampard's a coach, he's a manager. Let's not be so reactionary, I feel like so much criticism towards Lampard and the team and other things is just completely off base every single time. And, to be honest, it can be a bit frustrating reading social media and just seeing how, the entire point gets missed time and time again. Still though, even going down to 10 men, we still carried a bit of attacking presence. Most of that came down to Timo Werner, and we have to realize that for Werner to do what he did today, that's due to how Lampard is using him in a very fluid manner. He won the penalty, and to be honest, I had a sneaking suspicion that Jorginho was going to miss that. Doesn't surprise me because I thought he was very poor today. And if you guys want to hear some of my thoughts on each and every single individual player, wait for my player ratings video after this video. But you guys, I gave a pretty different match review. I'm all about context. I'm all about vision. I'm not going to be too bad when, lots of new players are playing together. There's been no preseason, and Lampard doesn't even have all his new signings playing together too. So I'm not going to be mad. It's annoying that we lost, but to be honest, I thought this was a respectable defeat, because if this was last season, you guys, in moments like this, we'd have lost 4 or 5-0. So let's keep things real. But on that note, I'm going to wrap things up and keep things moving. I'm going to be very curious to read people's opinions in the comment section. And again, as I stress, if you want to hear some of my deeper insights and opinions, wait for the player ratings video after this. I'm in the EFC. This is Blue Lions TV. You guys, let's be patient. Great things are still bound to come, but they're not going to come overnight.